Story 1. My biggest surprise is how much I love gardening. I am canning pickles and jalapenos this season. I cannot reconnect with old friends. They are all deceased except for one. This reminds me that I need to text him and schedule lunch. Story 2. How much I now love Monday mornings and how busy I stay. I have been retired for 10 years now. I love it. Story 3. Many retirees say the biggest surprise is how quickly time still flies and how important routine and purpose are even without work setting the daily structure. Story 4. How important exercise is. My physical body deteriorated quickly without activity. It is surprising how even though my job was not particularly physical, it kept me in shape strength-wise. Story 5. The purpose of a vacation has changed. I used to go on vacation to de-stress and relax by a pool. Now I do that all day at home. When I go somewhere, I want to see the sights, take a tour, visit other cities, and meet locals. Story 6. My biggest surprise was how little I missed work. I liked my job, and it gave me opportunities for creative problem solving and a sense of accomplishment. I thought about how I would replace that benefit. I still want to find something creative to immerse myself in, but a year into retirement, I have been too busy to focus on that. I have been traveling a lot and really enjoying it, helping take care of my parents who are still healthy and active in their 90s, supporting one of my adult children through a major life change, and spending about 20 hours a week, like a part-time job, exercising and improving my diet. Story 7. It's really strange, but you have to realize that you have plenty of time to work on your project. When you worked, you only had Saturday and Sunday to complete a big project, so you worked from dawn to dusk on those 2 days. Now that you're retired, your brain still thinks that your project takes from dawn to dusk. But instead of just Saturday and Sunday, you have the full week to do it. It's exhausting. You have to make the mental switch and realize construction workers stop at 4 o'clock for a reason. And you should too. Before I made the switch, I told my wife that if I actually worked like this for a living, I would be dead now. Story 8. I will be retiring at 65, hopefully with a pension. Years ago, when my dad retired, he did nothing other than the occasional visit with grandchildren. He spent most of his years just being sick. I refuse to be that way. I will still go to the gym, find some volunteer work, maybe work a fun part-time job as long as my body lets me. I am 54 now and am training for a 10-kilometer run in 2 months. It is all about mindset. I will not sit around and yearn for the old days. You do not have to travel constantly, but you can find ways to have fun. Story 9. Not retired, but from those I know who have retired, retirees generally fall into 2 groups. The first group consists of people who have an active retirement. They visit family and friends, go on holiday frequently, volunteer with local charities, and sometimes stand for the local council. They remain very active and are usually happy. The second group includes those who stop engaging and gradually withdraw. They do not go out, see anyone, or talk to anyone. They tend to age quickly and are often quite unhappy. Many comments rightly point out that there is a sliding scale, and some people may be happier with more alone time. These are just the most noticeable patterns. Story 10. How quickly your former coworkers move on. At first, it is a blow to your ego. Then you quickly realize what a blessing it is. Story 11. For me, it was how much I affected the local economy. I travel a lot on business and would drop off items such as suits and shirts to the dry cleaner weekly. When I stopped, the owner's wife asked me when I was going back to work. I found out I spent between $2,500 and $3,000 per year. Then I started doing my own landscaping and lawn maintenance because I always enjoy it. But when I worked, I did not have the time. This saved me almost $5,000. Lastly, the local coffee shop, where I would get a coffee and pastry or bagel every morning, missed my tipping. Story 12. My plan in the late 1980s was to get an engineering degree, retire as soon as I could, and then go to as much live music as possible while living my best life. For the next 30-plus years, I made a life for myself in my favorite place in the world, made amazing friends, traveled all over the globe, and had a stressful career that I generally enjoyed. When I was 56, 5 years ago, I hit my number, put in my notice, and never looked back. I am living my dream, have a huge friend group ranging from 30 to 75 years old, and go to over 150 shows each year. I make sure to take care of my health and am happy to have days where I don't do a thing. Many of my peers went back to some kind of work when they had plenty of money, and I don't understand it. My surprise, if anything, is how much better it is than I imagined. I am grateful for my privilege every day. Story 13. I retired young, in my 40s. The surprise is the cost of healthcare. I pay almost $800 per month, and many appointments and medications are not covered. It is eye-opening. Sometimes I think about getting a part-time job for health insurance. Story 14. I thought there was only so much I could read and that I would get bored. I was wrong. Story 15. I have been forced to retire due to disability at age 37. Being part of community groups with older people has given me interesting insight into why many people seem to instantly become grumpy. If you rely on work for your social needs and do not have independent friends, as soon as work stops, you suddenly have no one to talk to other than your family. When you do not work and lack a daily purpose, you need to create one. I have found that a weekly routine involving physical movement or exercise, social interaction, mental health care, and a long-term goal is very important to overall well-being. Without these, everyone can struggle mentally. Many people seem to give up on themselves. Work was literally their only reason to live, and when it stops, it feels like losing the will to live. It is common for new retirees to experience a crisis if they do not have a plan for the time after leaving work. Story 16:1. How I was not physically or financially capable of doing many of the things I imagined I would be doing in retirement. 2. How much of my identity was tied to my career. 3. How much of my identity was tied to being a caregiver and caretaker for my entire family, and how hard it is to let that go and do something for myself. Story 17. How much I sleep. Like literally all the time. I go to bed at 8:30 or 9 p.m., read until about 10:30 p.m. or so, and don't get up until past 9 a.m. If I have nothing planned for the day, I also have a little nap in the afternoon. I came from a life of a 6:30 a.m. rise and an 11 p.m. bedtime, worked full-time all my life and raised 3 children as well. I think my body is saying, okay, it's time to rest now. I do worry sometimes that I'm getting old, but I exercise regularly. A 5-kilometer run 3 times a week, and try to keep my brain active too. It has become a joke between my husband and me that my bed is literally my favorite place. Story 18. How many things, from automobiles to appliances and beyond, have broken, worn out, and needed repair or replacement? I had not anticipated spending my retirement as a full-time repairman. Story 19. I am going to work a part-time job because I need to stay busy. We go out and do things, but I am energetic and easily bored. So why not work 25 hours per week and make a little extra money? It is a win-win for me. Story 20. There was a process in getting used to it. Indeed, it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Retirement is great. I am an active person. I like to do things and build things. Every night is Friday night, and every day is Saturday. Story 21. Retired last December. I joined a gym and go swimming at least 3 times a week. I go for walks to get my daily steps in. I just power washed my garden flags. I will be wallpapering rooms in the house soon. My day of leisure is Saturday, with local cricket all day during the summer months. I have a season ticket to watch Everton. I only drink on Saturday night. Retirement, in a word, is brilliant. Story 22. We have been retired for 10 years. Every morning, I mentally review everything I want to accomplish that day. Then I sit and have my coffee instead of doing those things. I love being retired. Story 23. My blood pressure dropped dramatically, as did my blood sugars. I have type 1 diabetes, which is genetic, not diet-related. I had no idea how much the stress of teaching was negatively affecting my health. I also no longer have to worry about that student bringing a weapon to school. Additionally, it is much easier to keep the house tidy when you have time. Story 24. Our still young brain is trapped in an older body. It is a strange sensation. We are both fairly fit but have discovered that starting in the mid-60s, no matter how strong your body feels, do not be tempted, it is deceiving. We both gave up downhill skiing in our late 60s and replaced it with hiking, gave up jogging and replaced it with walking, and slowed down significantly with racket sports. Dancing energetically at a wedding will have consequences. We have found that if you do not adjust, you will pay with weeks or months of recovery. Story 25. How neat it was not to have to do anything you do not want to do. Next, it was how inexpensive life gets when you are not away at work. Story 26. How busy we are. Babysitting every afternoon for our grandson, repairs to garage and house, gardening, running errands, taking care of my 90-year-old mother and her needs, including groceries and appointments. Still have to build her a new deck before winter. Endless to-do lists. Story 27. How little purpose I need. I cannot possibly imagine how most people really find meaningful purpose in most jobs. Most people are not curing cancer. They are doing tasks like selling insurance or accepting or rejecting mortgage applications for multi-billion-dollar banks. I think what a lot of people call purpose in a job is really little more than something you are forced to do for 8 to 10 hours a day, so you do not have to come up with something else to fill that time. So many American workers spend all their working hours sitting behind a desk. I have no idea why that is keeping them alive, but sitting on a couch and doing what they want somehow leads to their immediate death. Story 28. How many people my age, 61, still focus on what is wrong, pining for the good old days and missing what is right in front of them? Story 29. I do not spend as much money as I did while working. I did not have to pay for coffee, lunch, transit, and dry cleaning. Also, I work downtown, so there were plenty of shops around where I could buy a few things at lunchtime. Story 30. I was basically forced into early retirement in my early 50s due to terminal cancer. My body is failing me, but my brain is still very active and needs something to do. Unfortunately, I receive no financial support, and my partner only works part-time. So to make ends meet, I have had to find part-time work after a few months of retirement. My brain is in a much better position since I have something to focus on, but even working a couple of days a week is all I can manage. I feel physically exhausted afterward. I am in a position where it would be more economical for my family if I could just hurry up and die already. Story 31. Retired at 32 in 1990 when the Department of Veterans Affairs started paying me for my service-connected disability. The surprise was how many people were upset because I did not have to work. Story 32. How much I enjoy the beautiful days. I've only been retired for 4 months, but I'm really enjoying not being stuck in a building all day when it's gorgeous outside. I can stay home and open the windows, read a little, make lunch and eat it outside, and feel the breeze blow through the house. I'm pretty sure my dog and cat love me being retired too because they get interaction throughout the day instead of being home alone. I will say there are hard parts in that we tend to make our careers our personalities. It can be difficult losing some of your identity and being alone with your own thoughts much more than you were before. Also, I enjoy the small things much more. Flowers, butterflies, birds. Just being able to sit and actually watch the small bits of nature around the house is nice. Story 33. How it took me 3 years to decompress. For those 3 years, I still got up early, made a job list, and kept up the go-go-go routine until it dawned on me that nothing had to get done. I kept having work dreams where I was late or everything was going wrong for 15 years after retirement, too. Also, I didn't know how much I would love being retired. I've been retired for 28 years. I taught high school and I'd eat cat food under a bridge rather than ever go back. Story 34. I was surprised by how little I missed going to work 5 days a week. Story 35. Having many people ask you to do things because they believe you have nothing else to do. Story 36. My sister said that she was surprised at how many elderly people were at the local swimming pool after she started swimming again. Story 37. My biggest surprise is how few retirees think about what they want their retirement to look like. They are retiring from something instead of to something. Story 38. My dad was born in 1929 and retired at 55. His doctor advised him to get a part-time job to stay active and spend time outside the house. He told him that retirees often die of boredom 5 to 7 years after retiring. So he worked for a flower shop as a delivery driver. He witnessed some drama from women receiving flowers not from their husbands. He lived another 30 years. Story 39. You have to have or develop a clear purpose for your days. Earlier in life, managing a job and kids made purpose easy. In retirement, it is harder and also critical. The people I see who struggle are the ones who have not determined their purpose going forward. Fly fishing, playing golf, and making quilts, whatever your thing is, it is fun until it is not. You have to have purpose or the hobbies begin to feel like noise. Figure that out before you retire. Story 40. You do not just switch it off. I am currently awake at 4:30 a.m. because I heard about something happening at the office and my mind is trying to work on the problem. I do not have any information or involvement, but I cannot let it go. It is like a reflex. Story 41. How boring the days were without the sense of purpose you get from having a job. I took on a fun part-time job that I love doing, which still leaves me plenty of free time to do other things. Story 42. It is about how many people are out doing things during working hours. Approximately 28% of working-age people are not employed. About 40% of all people are not employed. Many people are simply out doing unproductive activities on a Tuesday afternoon. Also, I do not go to the bank during your lunch break to annoy you or make you stand there thinking, "This old guy can go all day, but he is holding up the line during my lunch break." It is because by the time I wake up late, have a long breakfast, and decide what I am going to do today, it can easily be noon. Story 43. I am not close to retirement myself, but I find myself thinking about whether there will be a pension by the time I get there, and at what age I will be able to receive that pension. Story 44. Man, if I can retire in about 30 years, all I would want to do is see my children, maybe grandchildren, and then be outside as much as possible reading or walking through nature. I already garden as much as possible, so I would make that my #1 priority. Story 45. That work is a very good excuse for not being able to do the things that you would if you only had the time. Then you get the time and realize it is just going to be a different kind of work. On the other hand, it is like 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. Story 46. I was worried about being bored with nothing to do. I found out I am really good at doing nothing. Story 47. How the work that you and everyone around you used to take so seriously matters so little in the greater scheme of things, particularly in the technology sector. Building an incremental improvement to an existing device used by people to do nothing of worth or to market more useless things for them to spend their money on really is not important. It requires removing yourself from that situation to see it. I almost never open my computer anymore, and I was attached to it for 18 hours a day when I was working. Story 48. The biggest surprise once I retired was losing much of my vocabulary. I was constantly struggling for words. It started after only a week, I think because I was no longer active all the time. I had always been talking, thinking, and creating, even on weekends, even in my sleep. At work, I was always talking to customers and coworkers. Driving home or working out at the gym, I was thinking through complex scenarios. At night and on weekends, I created new ideas and formulated new ways to articulate complicated problems and solutions. Then suddenly I had nothing to do and all day to do it. No reason to tax my brain and vocabulary. To combat growing soft, I increased my reading volume. At any given time, I have 2 to 3 books in progress, and I mostly read the news instead of watching it on television. All in all, I love retirement. I earned it, and I have become an avid reader. Story 49. How busy I am. I have more on my plate now than when I was working. Also, weekends are difficult now. Everything is crowded. Return to your jobs, please. Story 50. The suddenness. I was working full-time, then experienced a health issue that forced me to retire slightly earlier than I planned. The sudden loss of daily structure, morning preparation and drive, daily work, office interactions, was depressing and isolating. The health issues intensified these feelings. During my recovery, I had to make a concerted effort to get back on track, including picking up my hobbies again, increasing my leisure reading, and exercising at the gym. I thought I was mentally prepared for retirement, but I was not. Story 51. How utterly boring it can be if you do not have close friends. My best friend passed away a year ago. My next closest friend is 2.5 hours away. At least when I worked, I had work friends I could talk to and my children to take care of daily. Now I take my daughter to school and do not talk to anyone until I pick her up. Story 52. I had a wonderful job for over 30 years working for a generous employer in an industrial environment. I spent a lot of time, possibly too much time, working with the tools as a tradesman alongside bright, funny, and entertaining individuals. I fully expected to experience some sort of major dislocation anxiety when I suddenly retired. It never happened. Story 53. I think about how I managed to get everything done when I was working 60 hours a week. It was during vacations and 3-day weekends that I had to complete all the work. Now I can take my time year-round. I have been retired for 10 years and love every minute of it. Stay healthy. Story 54. I retired in June. I find myself feeling guilty if I don't accomplish something every day since my wife and most of my friends still work. I start or plan this or that, but spend too many days doing less than I thought I would. I finally joined a gym to start my day. Clears my head and gets me motivated to get something done during the day. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to be retired. The stress is gone. People are right, though, the days fly by. Story 55. I knew I could be replaced. I did not know I had a need to be needed. Story 56. I have been retired for about 2 months and am surprised that Sunday still passes more quickly than a weekday. Story 57. 2 months in here. I thought I would be more productive with home projects and maintenance tasks. So far, it has been a lot of golf, cooking, and video games. We will see how it evolves over time, but no regrets here. Truly enjoying it. Story 58. I thought I would have more money. It turns out I just have more time to realize I do not. Story 59. Well, in theory, I retired 3 years ago at 55. I went back to work. Actually, I never stopped. I rolled into a new job immediately, and I love it. I do not need to work, and that makes it much more enjoyable. Half my income is guaranteed to show up on the first of every month, and it pays all my bills. What makes it even better is that my boss and my boss's boss are in the same situation. We are all retired military. We can all walk away and be fine. We can all transition into the exact same roles at different places because we have very in-demand skills. This means none of the normal leadership by threat that you normally experience. I have a plan to retire for real in 3 years. I just took a vacation to Ireland, and I might extend my working by an extra 2 years just to pay for Polaris class seats from now on. Once you go lie flat, you never go back. Story 60. How easily I lose track of what day it is. My life used to be controlled by a calendar. Now every day is the weekend. Story 61. Every day ends with the word day. Every day is like a weekend. Story 62. I had always blamed my anxiety on short schedules and annoying coworkers. I retired, but the anxiety stayed. Turns out it was baggage I had been carrying with me all along. Had I even suspected that, I would have approached many things differently. Story 63. My parents' biggest surprise is that they should have saved for retirement. Story 64. My heart attack was followed by post-traumatic stress disorder dreams about work and not being able to find my way out of the office. Story 65. I'm not missing the work or the industry. I thought I'd miss the people, but not that much. Story 66. The loss of the weekend. Before retirement, all shopping, cleaning, relaxing, and visiting friends had to be done on the weekend. Not enough energy after a long day of work. Now, I can do all of that, or at least part of it, on any day of the week. Shopping is no longer limited to Saturday, but every day. The downside is that I buy more stuff. Story 67. Not retiring soon, but approaching an age where it is on my mind. People I know who have continued to work and have side jobs seem to be the most mentally fit and happy. I have already planned my second career as either a taxi driver, waiter, or landscaper. Maybe 2 of those or all. I just know that I will want to work, be around people, and hopefully have a few grandchildren to spoil. Story 68. The biggest surprise was how much I still had to do every day. Story 69. My dad started taking hobby classes at the community college. Keeps him active and engaged. Story 70. How pretty the sky is. I drove an hour each way to work and never looked up because I was watching the road. Now I walk outside every day and look at the sky. I want to put bigger windows in my house so I can see it all the time. Story 71. I agree about routine and purpose. After 5 years, I am constantly surprised at how I can take care of 2 to 3 tasks or errands in a day and feel like I have accomplished a lot. I would not survive in my old job moving at this pace. Story 72. I am on week 2 of retirement. Lots to figure out. Finances are not an issue. I joined a weekly golf league. I play pickleball with a large group twice weekly and go to the gym 5 to 6 times weekly. I have been working on small do-it-yourself projects around the house, though those will run out soon. I am single and have dated a couple of women but have not found anyone who shares my interests and motivation yet. I can see myself finding a low-stress part-time job in the coming months. Otherwise, on week 2, so far so good. While I enjoy a good Netflix binge every so often, I will never just sit around with zero ambition. Story 73. Not retired, but I would say nothing much to do and all day to do it. Story 74. Sadly, this will not be a reality for me. I will probably have to work on the day of my funeral. If you are able to retire and live life, then enjoy it and do not take it for granted. Story 75. I spend less money. It was easy to stop into a store on my lunch break or on my way home from work. Now I have to plan to go to a store. Story 76. How long it took me to settle in. More than a year. I loved working, yet it was time to begin a retirement chapter. Story 77. Retiring in your early 40s makes people envious and ask many questions. Story 78. It's been 2 or 3 years, and I expected to feel in need of routine and commitments, especially after the first year. Instead, I am still completely satisfied to be doing nothing of consequence. I am busy, but only with things I absolutely enjoy. What surprises me is that instead of putting off small tasks, I now just get up and do them when I think of them. I figure it is because I am no longer tied up all day and now have the mental energy and the knowledge that I can return to my relaxation afterward. I also missed interacting with my coworkers at first, but after a year, they did not matter anymore. I am an introvert and happily married. Story 79. I never knew I would have a podiatrist as such a close friend after retirement. Story 80. I would love to retire one day, but I do not see it happening for myself or most of my peers, sadly. Story 81. I stopped hating getting up early and getting out of bed. I am up at 7 every day now. I thought I was lazy my whole life, but I just hated work. Story 82. My retired husband became very clingy, and I wanted to scream and leave him. Fortunately, he found a hobby that filled the gap of not being a leader. I regained my independence. Took 3 years. Story 83. My dad retired a year ago, and speaking with him the other day, he mentioned how his eyesight and hearing have improved. He no longer needs his glasses to watch TV in the evenings. We speculated that perhaps less stress from work has improved his brain health and boosted his senses. I would love to hear if any doctors have encountered this before. Story 84. Nothing is open at 4 in the morning. These kids will not get out of bed. My grandfather said this before unretiring and going back on the pipeline as a consultant. Story 85. Realizing how confusing it can be to apply for Medicare. Story 86. Not me, but my mom told me after she retired, "Honey, I have no idea how I got everything done in my life when I worked a full-time job." I guess because she's so into gardening, crafts, reading, and baking, but then she stopped working and realized she could actually take her time on those things instead of feeling like she was running around with her head cut off. My parents planned very well, so my mom actually retired at 52. She turned 70 this year and is still as busy. Story 87. How easy it is to get a good night's sleep, especially Sunday night now that the Sunday scaries are gone. Story 88. How the corresponding reduction in stress transformed my life into something beautiful. I did not see it coming because I did not understand the stress I was under. Life is so much better now. Story 89. When my marriage was still working, we were thinking about moving around the world, like renting a small apartment in Venice, London, New York, or Amsterdam and spending a whole year there to really get to know those places. I still think it is a nice idea. Story 90. It has been 17 years since I moved from one life into the next. I still enjoy sleeping in the same bed in my own house every night. No more wandering nights. Story 91. 1. Supermarkets are packed during weekdays. 2. How fantastic it is doing everything just for me. 3. How busy I am. Story 92. How much I didn't miss working. I started working when I was 15. I liked working even when I had fast food jobs. I thought I would have a much harder time not working. Story 93. Almost instantly stopped waking up with insomnia at 4 a.m. for no discernible reason, even on low-stress days. Never realized how many times a week I had been stumbling around like a zombie on 4 hours of sleep. Story 94. I am surprised by how everyone and everything assumes we are all working until death. If you do not obviously look old, everyone assumes you have a regular job. Story 95. One of the happiest days of my life was when I signed up for Social Security. I told the nice lady I was unusual because I had young children. I was glad that they would receive some income when I died. She said, "Oh no, they get it now." Story 96. I sat around for 3 months or so, catching up on my reading. It was enjoyable for that time. I got a shot of adrenaline one day when I realized I was going to die if I didn't get up and move. I have projects to complete, and my whole day is spent busy in the yard. I used to hate it, but now I love it. Although I am retired, I am busier than when I worked. Story 97. How quickly the work stress disappeared. I liked my job and most of the people I worked with, but a subtle war broke out over coronavirus, and human resources and senior management were not on my side. Return to office and fear of coronavirus was ridiculous for them, even for those of us who are immunocompromised. But I noticed the relief as I was driving away. None of them could hurt me in any way anymore. I had my pension and my earned medical benefits, and they couldn't take those away. I had assumed it would be months before I decompressed. But no, life is good. Story 98. How many times have I been asked what I do during the day? Many people seem truly baffled about what they would do without work. Story 99. I wanted and found a relationship with God and had been wanting one all along. I know, no one was more surprised than I. Story 100. I asked my father about this, and he said the most important thing was keeping yourself busy. He is very active and energetic. Until my mother became ill, he was constantly volunteering. Then his job was being a full-time caregiver for my mother. Now that she has passed away, he is returning to his old hobbies. I think if he stopped and tried to relax, he would die from pure boredom. Story 101. A friend told me before I retired that if I had something important to accomplish, I should do it while I was working because I would not have time when I retire. I laughed. I should not have, he was right. Story 102. It's hard to do nothing. I miss the bustle of people working on their projects. I miss finishing an assignment and getting something new to work on. I miss the people and the energy that young people give off. Plus, I miss that paycheck. Story 103. I was bored. I thought I would enjoy the quiet life but did not. Story 104. How much time is used for medical issues? I live in a remote area and use the Department of Veterans Affairs. Most appointments are 2 hours away. However, time spent waiting at the facility or during appointments is very quick, under 20 minutes total. Story 105. How I did not get out of bed once to get ready for work afterward. Story 106. My biggest surprise is my health. While most of the people I know are experiencing various health-related problems, I have had almost none. Story 107. I retired from a healthcare position in February of this year. I immediately started volunteering at a local hospital, joined a volunteer police department auxiliary team, signed up for neighborhood emergency response team training, and am studying for a ham radio license. Not satisfied, I am going back to work part-time next week. I am only 69 and have a few good years left before I retire for good. Story 108. How busy I am. I envisioned a carefree existence, but no. I am just as busy as when I was working. Story 109. Car repairs. Assuming you cannot afford $40,000 for a similar new car, set aside $20,000 for car repairs over the last 30 years. Story 110. I have not retired yet, but I think this is the end of all the constant pressure. Story 111. Retiring was going to be a time when I would enjoy all the good things in life. I could spend my savings on the best food, the best wine, have as much sex as I wanted, and do whatever made me feel good. That is what I had always been told. I was lucky enough to afford a retired life filled with as many of the so-called good things in life as I wanted. And it was very good. Until it was not. Retirement forced me to ask myself some really hard questions. Is this it? Is this the point of working for a lifetime? And if it is not, then what is? Story 112. According to many retired people I know, they do not like their spouse that much. Story 113. Doctor drastically reduced my antihypertensive medication dosage. Story 114. Retired for over 10 years, male, age 74. Takes very little to fill the day. A little physical training in the morning, clean up and shop. Suddenly, it's lunchtime and I never miss a meal. Take a walk, take a nap. Now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I have a drink. Start dinner and eat. Watch streaming television until bedtime at 9. Read to fall asleep. Repeat daily. Done. Story 115. I wonder how I ever had time to work. I am busier now than ever with my schedule, doing activities I want to do. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.